Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is still Stephanie Bree, as it says in the description in the name of the channel. And today we're talking about everything wrong with chicken noodle soup. Specifically chicken noodle soup. But this would apply to any variation of chicken soup. But, what's wrong with chicken noodle soup? When you're sick, it doesn't matter what it is. You got a stomach ache, you got the flu, you got a cold. It doesn't fucking. You got a headache, whatever you. Whenever you're a kid and you're like, I don't feel good, blah blah blah. What does not matter what your symptoms are. The first thing your mom or grandma or whoever your parental figure is that's in charge of your health is gonna say is, let's get you a bottle of Sprite or 7-Up. It's usually 7-Up. I don't understand this. It makes no sense. There's no medicinal value to 7-Up, but when you're sick, your parents give you a bottle of 7-Up for some strange reason, like it's medicine. It ain't, but whatever. The second thing they're going to do is try to shove a bowl of chicken noodle soup down your throat. Now, there's a few things wrong with chicken noodle soup. Now, I want to specify there are acceptable culinary instances where you can put chicken in some sort of, shall we say, liquid, a broth or a gravy or whatever. Likewise, there are acceptable instances where you can put noodles in a liquid substance, a soup, a broth, a gravy, etc. But when you put the two together and you put them in a bowl of soup, you have problems. And every time, 100%, every single time I have ever had chicken noodle soup or any variation thereof, I would gag first, vomit second, and then throw the soup away, and then just have to sit there and eat a plate of crackers, which is usually like 4 crackers, because that's all mom's going to give you because we're poor and she ain't wasting the crackers. And well, she just had to throw away a whole bowl of soup. She's not giving you anything else to eat, so you got to eat the crackers. Well, smear some butter on them and you can pretend it's a meal. It happens. But I've done this enough that I figured out what is wrong. So there's a couple of things wrong. Well, 3 things actually. Number 1, chicken is not meant to be soggy. Chicken is meant to be either, like mushy or crunchy or chewy. One of those 3. It is not meant to be soggy. And so when you put soggy chicken in this thing, your body reacts and it says, fuck no, and boop, pushes the eject button and back up it comes. Soggy chicken is a bad thing most of the time. But I'm going to get to an acceptable instance where it doesn't make you gag. The second thing wrong with chicken noodle soup is the soggy noodles. Again, noodles aren't necessarily meant to be soggy. Well, spaghetti is kind of sort of soggy a little bit. So is chicken Alfredo, which again, chicken Alfredo. That's an acceptable culinary use of, noodles, sauce, and chicken. Because when you put it in a bowl of water, and then you add chicken broth, and you add noodles, and you add the little chunks of chicken bits, your body has some visceral reaction, and is no good. But when you have soggy noodles on top of it, I'm already gagging thinking about it. Your body says, ew, noodles aren't supposed to be this soggy. They're not supposed to be soaking wet. They can be like smothered in some type of sauce, Alfredo sauce, spaghetti sauce, etc. But they're not supposed to be soaked in water. Unless, of course, they're ramen noodles. We'll get to that in a minute. So, the third thing wrong with chicken noodle soup is the chicken broth. And it turns the soup yellow. Now, your eyes and your brain and your taste buds and your mouth and your stomach and your body all agree that yellow water equals bad news bears. And so whenever you see yellow water, your instinct is, ew, do not drink. Because you know there's something probably wrong with that water. So when you put chicken broth in water, it turns yellow. And your brain and your nose and your eyes and your body and your mouth and everything else go, fuck no. But you shove it in your body anyways, and then you get the eject button once again. Blah, it comes back on up. I've done it here on the videos. I've done videos, people have called me out on it, I apologize, but You know, I have a stomach condition, and sometimes I gag, I puke. I'm gonna probably, if I'm not careful with this video, so I'm trying to settle my stomach. Also, I just ate some mac and cheese right before I did this video, but mac and cheese doesn't usually upset my stomach, so we should be good. If I do eject, I got a trash can here and here, so I'll be okay, but I don't think I'll have enough time to hit the pause button, so you might not be okay. I apologize in advance. I'll do my best to make sure that don't happen. The mouse is over here. I don't have a very quick reflex. When the vomit button says time to go, I don't get a warning. It's just like blah, and it comes up. So I'm just giving you a fair warning. I'll probably put a trigger warning in the description of this video. I may or may not. So, what about ramen noodles, right? They have chicken ramen noodles. Well, no. Because, again, you have the ramen noodles, which can and are meant to be eaten in a soup form. That's acceptable. But when you add the chicken broth and the little bits of chicken, again, the combination of these three things, your body comes together and says, too much. We can let one offense slide. 2 offenses, probably not. 3 offenses, that's third strike. You're out. We're coming back up. Don't put this back in here ever, 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 ever again. And so your stomach is like, nope. So, when is it acceptable to put chicken and noodles together in some type of, we'll say, liquidy substance? We have a few acceptable instances. I've already told you a couple. Spaghetti. Now, spaghetti is usually made with some type of, red meat. Most of the time, it's beef. Ground beef or meatballs. Meatballs are a product. It's meatloaf turned into a ball. Bread, egg, seasoning, meat, onions. Rolled up into a ball, baked in the oven. It's meatloaf. But sometimes you just cook spaghetti with regular old chunks of ground beef. The other meat that can be used in spaghetti are various types of sausages, Italian-style sausages, etc. This is acceptable. Some weirdos out there put hot dogs in their spaghetti. Shame on you. Please, please don't do that. And if you do it, don't tell people you do it. Please, for the love of fucking God. Now, but you could, theoretically, use a grilled chicken breast and dice it up. You have to grill it first and dice it up as the meat base for your spaghetti. I don't recommend this, but there are people who do this. Whatever. It is what it is. But if you substitute the spaghetti sauce with Alfredo sauce, same noodles, well, you use Alfredo noodles, but you can use whatever kind of noodle you want. If you substitute the red sauce with the white sauce, your body and your brain are going to say, okay, this is acceptable. Because your brain thinks of chicken, and it thinks chickens are white. And so chickens are supposed to be white. They're not supposed to be red. That's a red flag to your brain. And they're not supposed to be yellow, because that's a red flag to your brain. Speaking of which, yellow foods are kind of iffy anyways, because our brain associates yellow with stuff that happens in the part of the bathroom that we don't talk about. That room down the house with the toilet. So your brain is automatically conditioned to know yellow does not go in foods. So that's tricky. But that's a whole other video for a whole other day. But chicken Alfredo is okay because you're going to bake the chicken and dice it up first, and then add it to the noodles, which you presumably boiled separately, and then you're going to heat the Alfredo sauce separately, and then mix them all together. Now, you can add various seasonings and other, maybe vegetables if you would like. It's up to you what you would like to add to it. But your brain is going to be like, okay, chicken equals white. This is okay. This is acceptable. The noodles are going to be, soft, but they're not going to be soggy. There is a difference between soft noodles and soggy noodles. It's a subtle, very subtle difference, but it is noticeable. So that's an acceptable use of liquefying chicken and noodles together. Another pseudo-acceptable, and this one's tricky because it's just called chicken and noodles, And this is what we grew up with, me and my family. Some people call it chicken and dumplings, but dumpling is not a noodle. So what is chicken and noodles? And I'm not talking chicken noodle soup. This is an entirely different meal. So here's how you make chicken and noodles. You start with mashed potatoes, right? You shave the skin off the potato. Do not leave the skins on the potato when you're going to mash them. That's a crime. It should be illegal. You belong in jail if you do this, or prison, or, fucking Antarctica, chained to a snowman. I don't fucking care. Don't do it. You shave the skins off of the potato. You dice it up. You throw them in a pot. You boil it. You drain it. You add milk, butter. You take a masher. You go, and you turn it into a mush. And you have mashed potatoes. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to take the chicken and you're going to grill it just like you would when you're making Alfredos. And then you're going to dice it. But you're going to peel it after you dice it. And you're going to dice it into strips instead of squares. And then you're going to peel it so that you have string. Kind of like when you're making a turkey sandwich, a leftover next day after Thanksgiving. You have the, like, shredded bits of turkey that you're going to put on the sandwich. It's sort of, you want the chicken to look like that. And then you're going to cook the noodles as you would in a pot of water. Let them boil, season as needed. And then you're going to add the chicken to the noodles. No broth. You're going to add the chicken to the noodles. And then you're going to add a can of chicken gravy. No broth. Chicken gravy. A jar, a can, a seasoning packet, whatever. And you're going to stir it up. And now you have gravy, kind of, sort of. Chicken and noodles. You put the potatoes on a plate. You throw the chicken and noodles on top of the potatoes. And now you have chicken and noodles. This is a culinary acceptable usage of these combination of foods. Especially when you're having the potatoes. Because the potatoes go into your stomach. And even if your stomach is like the noodles, and the chicken, it's two sins. But the potatoes are going to come in and be like, well, safe. It's okay. And it's going to settle your stomach. I do not understand the biological culinary science behind this. I just have, 30 plus years of experience eating these foods to know that my stomach is like, fuck no to the aforementioned chicken noodle soup, chicken noodle ramen. Ugh, I'm gagging just thinking about it. But it's okay to have chicken Alfredo or chicken noodles. Which chicken and noodles, like I said, some people call it chicken and dumplings. And the only difference is they make dumplings instead of noodles. If you're making homemade noodles, which my mom did, you're basically going to make a dumpling and then slice it into strips and call it noodles. Or you're going to buy a pack of, like, egg noodles or spaghetti noodles or Alfredo noodles or whatever. Just whatever noodles ramen, if that's all you got. You're broke. What are you going to do? So, that's an acceptable combination of these various factors. Liquid, chicken, soggy noodles. Because, again, you're putting it on top of a potato, and the potato's going to soak up a lot of the liquid. It's going to soak up a lot of the water and the gravy. And so the chicken isn't going to be as mushy because it's not going to be in the water for too long. Same with the noodles. You cook it in the water, then you drain it, and then you just put it on the potato, and the potato soaks up the rest of the moisture. You're good to go. You take a piece of bread and butter. You take a spoon or fork. You scoop it. You plop it on the bread and butter. Put it in the mouth. You're good to go. Because the bread is going to soak up the rest of the shit that the potatoes don't. You're good to go. Now, remember way back at the start, I mentioned Mom giving me crackers whenever she made chicken noodle soup? Well, theoretically, and you can do this with oyster crackers, but not with chicken noodle soup. You save that for, like, clam chowder or, potato soup. That's a whole other thing. But, potato soup, thumbs up. Chicken noodle soup, oh God, no. But, let's keep going. So you're going to take, I'm going to say 5 to 8 or so crackers, about this many. Just a pinch of crackers. And you're going to go and sprinkle it into the soup. Now, you do this, step 1, and then you take the aforementioned bread and butter. You take the spoon, you plop it on the bread, you eat it. You might be able to keep the chicken noodle soup down. It's a little bit more palatable if you add celery to it, because the celery does something to the water. I don't know what. Again, I don't know the science here. I'm not a chef. But if you add celery to it, And then you add the crackers. A cup of oyster crackers is an acceptable alternative if you're rich, but we weren't, so oyster crackers were fucking rare. Hardly ever had them. Regular saltines or even unsalted crackers. Yeah, I know. Ugh. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. If you gotta save 10 cents to buy the unsalted crackers, you're saving the 10 cents because you're broke, and that 10 cents is gonna buy a packet of Kool-Aid. You gotta have something to drink, presumably. So, you're on a budget. So, you can doctor chicken noodle soup and almost make it palatable. But you gotta have a glass of Kool-Aid or soda pop or something to chug to chase it with. Otherwise, you're running to the wherever your designated vomit-catching device is in the house to fill it up. Whether it's the trash can or the sink or the toilet or whatever. Should be the toilet, but sometimes your toilet's on the other end of the house, or somebody's sitting on it and you can't eject them because they're in the middle of stuff you don't want to be a part of. So sometimes you don't have a choice. You got to think fast. Hey, this is coming back up. The toilet's occupied. I guess it's the kitchen sink or the nearest trash can. The kitchen floor is not an acceptable place to put this expulsion product. I found this out the hard way. I had a red bottom as a result. Don't puke on your mom's kitchen floor. That's free advice. Just don't do it. Now, are there any additional acceptable culinary instances where you can have liquefied chicken and noodles together in some type of broth? No. Broth? No. Broth is never okay. Now, gravy, yes. Alfredo sauce or some other type of thick sauce like chicken gravy or maybe, I don't know, what other sauces are there? I don't want to say ranch dressing. That would be weird. You don't cook ranch dressing. I don't know. So, go down into the comments and tell me, A, if you agree with me, have you also ejected your chicken noodle soup violently as I always have every time I was forced to eat it? And 2, or in addition to or alternative to that, what other foods can you think of where you can cook chicken in water and cook noodles in water and combine the two that isn't chicken noodle soup? Let me know. Stay cool. I apologize if anybody but there's nothing I can do about it. I'll put a warning in the description.